Hello and welcome to my EDEXCEL GCSE Maths Higher Paper 2 prediction paper for this summer. Before we begin, some general information. Firstly, I'd highly recommend that you download and try doing this paper before watching the walkthrough. I've put a link in the description so you can download it to try first. The paper perfectly covers the advanced topic list material released by AQA in February 2022. All of the questions are original and created by myself, so you won't find these questions in any other paper. And finally, there's no guarantee that questions will be asked exactly in this way, but this is excellent practice for your summer exams. When you have a bracket raised to a power, you just multiply the indices. So in this one, we'll multiply 3 and 4 to get 12. So the answer is m to the power 12. For this next one, we need to divide. We'll start by dividing the coefficient, so 20 divided by 4, which gives you 5. Then looking at the a's, we have a to the 9 divided by a to the 3. When you divide these, you subtract the indices, so 9 take 3 is 6, so it's a to the power 6. Finally, with the b's, we have b to the power 10 and b squared. We take away the indices again, so 10 take away 2 gives you 8, so it's b to the power 8. We can expand these brackets using FOIL. So we do x times x, which is x squared, x times negative 2, which is negative 2x, 6 times x, which is plus 6x, and then 6 times negative 2, which is negative 12. We can simplify the x terms here, so we have x squared, negative 2x add 6x is plus 4x, and then negative 12. To factorise this, we first of all look at the coefficients 12 and 2. We find the highest common factor of these, which is 2. We then look at the letters, so here we have y and y squared. The highest common factor here is just y. And now we're ready for the brackets part. To work out what goes in the brackets, we consider what do we multiply 2y by to get 12y, and that's 6. We then put a minus, and then we consider what do we multiply 2y by to get 2y squared, and that's just y. So now it's factorised. In this question, the car has a value of £20,000, but it's going to lose 15% of its value each year. Losing 15% corresponds to a multiplier of 0.85, and this is going to happen for 3 years, so we put that to the power 3. If you type this into your calculator, you'll get £12,282.50, which is clearly greater than 12,000. In this question, we have an exchange rate which is £1 is equal to 1.25 euros. This means to go from pounds to euros, you multiply by 1.25, and to go from euros back to pounds, you divide by 1.25. In the question, we've got £440, which we need to convert to euros, so we do 440 times 1.25, which gets you 550 euros. 470 of these euros are then spent, so we do 550 take 470, which gives you 80 euros, and then we need to convert this back into pounds, so we do 80 divided by 1.25, which gets you 64 pounds. For this question, it's a good idea to draw a number line and mark the number 3.17 in the middle. The number below this will be 3.16, and above it 3.18. We can now see that this region here represents our error interval. The lower bound of this will be 3.165, and the upper bound 3.175. So they're the bounds for our answer. In this question, we're told the height of a rectangle to its width is in the ratio 3 to 10. But we know the height of the rectangle, it's 6 centimeters. So this ratio has been times by 2, so do 10 times 2 and you get 20. So the width of the rectangle is 20 centimeters. We're also told the height of the rectangle to the height of the square is in the ratio 1 to 2. So if we write this ratio out, again we know the height of the rectangle 6, so this time we multiply by 6. 2 times 6 is 12, this means the height of the square is 12. We need to find the area of the rectangle to the area of the square. The area of the rectangle is just 20 times 6, which is 120, and the area of the square is 12 times 12, which is 144. If you write these in a ratio, we can then simplify it. If you divide these by 2, you'll get 60 and 72. And if you divide those by 12, you'll get 5 to 6, which is the answer to the question. For this question, take a piece of tracing paper and trace the shape. It says we're going to rotate it around the origin, so we put a cross on the origin, and this is where you place your pen. Then turn the tracing paper 1/4 turn in a clockwise direction like this, and then draw the resulting shape and label it A. For part B, we're also going to use tracing paper, so take some tracing paper and trace the shape again, but this time we're doing a translation. The vector 5, 4 means to move 5 right and 4 up. So we move this shape 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and draw the resulting shape and label this one B. In this question, it takes 30 minutes to mow a lawn that's 8 by 10. An 8 by 10 lawn is 8 times 10, which is 80 meters squared. The larger lawn that we need to mow though is 32 by 17, so 32 times 17 is 544 meters squared. We need to know how many times bigger the larger lawn is compared to the smaller lawn. To do this, we do 544 divided by 80, which gets you 6.8. So the lawn is 6.8 times larger, so it will take 6.8 times as long. So the smaller lawn took 30 minutes, so 30 times 6.8 gives you 204 minutes. Since there are 60 minutes in an hour, this is the same as 3 hours and 24 minutes. For this question, we need to use a calculator. So we'll begin by pressing the fraction button, and then it's 2.6. We need to do to the power, so we press x with a little square above it, and then 4, and then we press the right arrow, and then times sine 88, and close bracket, and then we press the down arrow to get to the bottom. We then need square root 888, then the right arrow, and then take away 12. Then press equals, and you'll get this number, which we write down in full. To round this to 4 significant figures, we look for the 4th significant digit, which is this 5 here. The number after this is an 8, so we need to round up, so this 5 will become a 6. So the rounded number is 2.566. The missing sides of this rectangle are 4x and x minus 2. So if we do the perimeter of this rectangle, we do 4x, add 4x, add x minus 2, add x minus 2. We can simplify this by collecting the x's. Here we have 4 and 4, which makes 8, and another 1 and another 1, which makes 10x. We then have negative 2 take away 2, which is negative 4. So this is the perimeter of the rectangle. The perimeter of the triangle is just 6 add 8 add 10, which gets you 24. In the question, we're told the perimeter of the rectangle equals twice the perimeter of the triangle. So the perimeter of the rectangle, which is 10x minus 4, is equal to 2 times the perimeter of the triangle, which is 24, times 2, which is 48. We can now solve this equation by adding 4 to both sides. If we add 4 to the left, we get 10x. If we add 4 to the right, we get 52. Then divide both sides by 10. On the left, we get x, and on the right, we get 5.2. So the answer is x equals 5.2. In this question, we know both the area and the force for A, so we can work out the pressure using the formula we're given. Force divided by area, so force is 50, divided by area 40, gives us a pressure of 1.25 newtons per centimetre squared. We're also told that the pressure due to object B is the same, so this is also the pressure for object B. If we look at the formula up here, we can rearrange it to get force equals pressure times area. So to work out the force for object B, we need the pressure, which we now know to be 1.25, times the area, which is 0.025 meters squared. But we must be careful. This 0.025 is in meters squared, but the others were in centimeters squared, so we must convert it. 1 meter squared is equal to 10,000 centimeters squared. So we take the 0.025 and times it by 10,000, which gives you 250 centimeters squared. We can now use the formula, force equals pressure times area. We know the pressure is 1.25, and we know the area is 250, times these together and you'll get 312.5 newtons. In this question, 8 workers paint a wall in 6 hours. So if we do 8 times 6, this means there were 48 working hours altogether. If we then have the same job done by 3 workers, we can divide the 48 working hours by 3, to get 16 hours, so the answer is 16. The assumption that we've made here is that we assume all workers work at the same rate. To draw a box plot of this information, we take each of the numbers in the table and draw a vertical line. So we have the fastest at 22, the lower quartile at 24, the median at 26, the upper quartile at 29, and the slowest one was 30. We can then connect up the lower and upper quartiles to form the box, and then if we connect in these lines, you've completed the box plot. For part B, we need to compare the race times for Aggie and James. We'll start by comparing the medians. You can see Aggie's median here is 26, and James's median here is 24. This tells us that James was faster on average as his median was lower. We'll then look at the interquartile ranges. So if we do the upper quartile here, 29, and the lower quartile here, 22, we can work out the interquartile range by doing 29 take away 24, which is 5. We'll look at James's upper quartile and lower quartile, which are 28, take away 22, which gives you an interquartile range of 6. This tells us that Aggie had more consistent times as her interquartile range was lower. The graph for Cos moves between 1 and -1 on the y-axis, so we should label those on. We then mark on some key points, like 0, 1, 90, 0, 180, -1, 270, 0, and 361. To complete the graph, you need to join these up using a nice smooth curve. For part B, we have a vector. The top number tells us that we're moving 90 to the right, and the bottom number tells us it's 2 down. This means if we write out the formula, that x would be replaced with x minus 90, and then to move it down, you just take away 2. This is the equation of line L1. If we divide both sides by 6, we'll get y equals 3 over 6x minus 2 over 6, and both of these fractions simplify to 1/2 and 1/3. This tells us the gradient of line L1 is 1/2. We're told that line L2 is parallel to this. Parallel lines have the same gradient, so it must be y equals half x as well, but we don't know the intercept, so we'll just write plus c. We do know that line L2 goes through the point 10, 2 though. This means we can replace the x with 10 and the y with 2. So 2 equals 1/2 times 10 plus c. If we leave the left as 2 equals, on the right 1/2 times 10 is 5, and then plus c. If you take 5 from both sides, you'll get c equals -3. This means the equation of line L2 is y equals half x take away 3. We also know that this line goes through the point P0, so we could replace x with p and y with 0. So 0 equals half times p take away 3. If you then add 3 to both sides, you'll get 3 equals half p, and then times both sides by 2, you'll get 6 equals p, so p equals 6. On the first capture, 20 fish were caught, out of all of the fish in the lake. We don't actually know how many fish are in the lake altogether, so let's call it x. If we write this capture as a proportion then, it's 20 over x. For the second capture, we had 15 fish marked out of a total of 48. So the proportion here is 15 over 48, and this must equal the previous proportion. If we cross multiply here, then we get 20 times 48 on the left, which equals 15x on the right. If you then divide both sides by 15, we get 20 times 48, divide 15, equals x. If you type this into your calculator, you'll get the answer 64. If Oksana's assumption is wrong, then some of the marks have rubbed off. On the second capture, 15 of the fish that she caught were marked. If some of the marks have rubbed off though, then this number in reality may have actually been higher. So this number could increase. If you increase the 15 and do the calculation, you're dividing by a bigger number, which gives you a smaller answer, so x could actually be smaller. So we could say that there will actually be fewer fish in the lake. Or you could say Oksana has overestimated. To find the inverse function, we first of all write y equals f of x. We can then change the y's to x's and the x to y's, so instead of y equals, x equals, and instead of 5x, 5y. We then rearrange this to make y the subject. So take away 1 from both sides. On the left this will give x take away 1, and on the right the 1's will cancel, leaving just 5y. Then divide both sides by 5, On the left, this is x take away 1 divided by 5, and on the right, the 5's cancel to give you y. So the inverse function is x take away 1 over 5. To find gf of 7, we first of all do f of 7, and the result we get from that we put into g. So to do f of 7, you write out the f function but replace the x with 7. So it's 5 times 7 plus 1, which gives you 36. We're then going to take this number and use it as the input for the g function, so x take away 1 over 2 is 36 take away 1 over 2. 36 take away 1 is 35, so 35 over 2 gives you 17.5. For this question, f of x equals g of x, in which case 5x plus 1 equals x minus 1 over 2. To solve this equation, times by 2 on both sides. If we times by 2 on the left, we get 10x plus 2, and on the right, timesing by 2 cancels out the divide 2, so we're just left with x minus 1. We can then take away x from both sides. If you take away x from the left, you get 9x plus 2. Take it away from the right, you get negative 1. You can then take away 2 from both sides. Take away 2 from the left, you get 9x, because the 2's cancel, and then take away 2 from the right, you get negative 3. Finally, divide both sides by 9, on the left you'll get x, and on the right negative 3 over 9, which simplifies to negative 1/3. We're trying to find the angle BAC, which I've marked with a question mark. To do this, first of all draw on the line OC, which is a radius of the circle. OB is also a radius of the circle, so they're equal in length. This means the triangle BOC is an isosceles triangle, so angle OCB is also 27 degrees. To work out the angle in the middle, BOC, we can do 27 add 27, which is 54, then take this from 180 to get 126. You then need to know a circle theorem, which says the angle at the centre is twice the angle at the circumference. This means the angle 126 at the centre is twice the angle we need to find. So if we do 126 divided by 2, we'll get 63, which is the answer to the question. We're told the ratio of the height of the cylinder to the height of the cone is 4 to 7. We know the height of the cone though, that's 14, so this ratio is times by 2. 4 times 2 is 8, so the height of the cylinder is 8. We can now find the volume of them. Let's start with the cylinder. It's pi times the radius squared. Half of 10 is 5, so the radius is 5, so we want 5 squared, then times the height, which we found was 8. Typing this into your calculator gives you 628.3. We now do the volume of the cone, which is 1/3, times pi, times the radius squared, which is 5 squared again, times the height of the cone, which is 14. If you type this into your calculator, you get 366.5. If you add together both volumes, you'll get the total volume, which comes out at 994.8. We'll start this question by focusing on the left of the triangles. If we label it in this way, with the side AC as A, the opposite angle to that capital A, the 8 centimeters is B, and the opposite angle to that capital B, we can then use the sine rule to find out little a. So capital A is 42, little b here is 8, the capital B is 62. We can rearrange this to get a equals 8 sine 42 divided by sine 62, which if you type into your calculator gives you a as 6.06 and so on. We can now add this to our diagram. Now that we know the connecting side AC, we can focus on the right triangle. If we label the sides as follows, and the corresponding capital letter angles as follows, we can then use the cosine rule to find out A. So the cosine rule is this. So we have a squared equals b squared, which is 14 squared, plus c squared, which is our new number 6.06 and so on squared, take away 2bc, so 2 times 14 times 6.06 and so on, times by cos A, and the angle here is 80, so it's times cos 80. If you type all of this into your calculator, you'll get a squared equals 203.2785682 and so on. To get a, you just square root both sides, so a equals the square root of this, which gives you 14.3. Remember it said 3 significant figures in the question. For this question, we need to draw a Venn diagram for biology, chemistry, and physics. We're told that 9 students do not study any of the subjects, so we'll write a 9 outside the Venn diagram. We're told that 6 students study all 3 of the subjects, so we'll put a 6 right in the centre. We're told 10 students study biology and physics. So if we look at the intersection of biology and physics, this needs to add up to 10, meaning the missing section is 4. We're told 7 students study biology and chemistry, so if we look at the intersection of biology and chemistry, this needs to add to 7, so the missing section is 1. We're told that all of the students who study physics and chemistry also study biology. So if we look at those that study physics and chemistry, that's the intersection here, all of those students must also study biology. This means there's a 0 here, since there can be no students that study physics and chemistry but not biology. We're told 20 students study physics, so this whole circle here must add up to 20. Currently it adds up to 10, so there must be a 10 here. We're told there were 40 students in total, so if we add up the students we've assigned so far, 1 add 6 add 4 add 10 add 9, that gets you 30, so there are 10 more students left to assign. We're told the number of students who study biology is the same as the number that study chemistry, so the biology circle adds up to 11, and the chemistry circle adds up to 7. If we add 4 more students into chemistry only then, the circles would be balanced at 11 each, and we've just used 4 more people, so we've used 30 add 4, 34 people. This means there are 6 more to assign. Since biology and chemistry are currently balanced, we'll put 3 in each, so 3 in biology and 3 more in chemistry. We can add the 3 and 4 together to make 7 in chemistry. The question said work out the probability that they both study chemistry. If we look at the chemistry circle here, we can see that there are 7 plus 1 plus 6, which is 14 people. So the probability of selecting someone who did chemistry is 14 over 40, and the next person also studying chemistry would be 13 over 39 because we've removed 1 student. If you multiply these together, you'll get 182 over 1560, which if you simplify, gives you 7 over 60. In this question, Darren's bar has a mass of m kilograms, so we'll write that down. Kerry's bar is 2.5 kilograms more, so that would be m plus 2.5. Shelley's bar is 4 kilograms more than Darren's, so that's m plus 4, and Thomas's bar is the product of the masses of Darren and Kerry's bars, so we take m and m plus 2.5 and times them together, which would give you m squared plus 2.5m. We're told the total masses of all of their bars is less than 17 kilograms. This means if we add all of them up, so m plus 2.5 plus m plus 4 plus m squared plus 2.5m, this must be less than 17. There's lots of simplifying we can do here, so we'll start with m squared, then all of the m's, m add m add m add 2.5m gives you 5.5m, and then the constant terms, 2.5 add 4 is 6.5, so this is less than 17. Times both sides of this by 2 will remove the decimals, so we'll get 2m squared plus 11m plus 13 is less than 34. All you need to do now is subtract 34 from both sides. This would leave the 2m squared and 11m alone. 13 take away 34 is negative 21, and 34 take away 34 is 0, which is what we were trying to show. For this question, we need to solve the inequality. To do this, we'll factorise. We'll have 2 brackets with 2m and m, and to complete the brackets, we have negative 3 and plus 7. This gives you m equals 3 over 2 and m equals negative 7 as your critical values. This means if you draw a graph of the quadratic, it would look like this, going through the values negative 7 and 3 over 2. We're interested in when this graph is less than 0, which is this green section here. Therefore the x values are in between negative 7 and 3 over 2. So m is in between negative 7 and 3 over 2. There is one final piece of information though that you must notice. You can't have a negative mass, so the left-hand side of this inequality should be replaced with a 0 rather than a negative 7. So the final answer would be 0 is less than m is less than 3 over 2. Thank you for watching this video. I've put some rough grade boundaries here so you can see how well you've got on. Of course, we won't know the real grade boundaries until after the real exams are done, so take these with a pinch of salt. Also, check out what I think you should watch next and subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads.